So I said to Disco, if you are going to insist on taking steroids, you have to stop snorting them because it's not going to work the right way. Oh, wait, sorry, we're recording. Welcome in to the podcast, one of the loveliest smiles in the history of wrestling on podcasts, and the legendary Shane the Hurricane Helms. Shane, how the flip are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. That's the first time I've got that introduction.
Oh, well, will you hear what I say in the outro?
All right.
But I guess the first question I've got for you is wrestling. Back in 2001, there was Mania 17, Rock versus Austin in a big giant stadium match. Apparently it's the most financially successful thing ever, even bigger than when Disco joined Impact. They say that that was, as I say, the most financially successful ever, but it's not that it's been all downhill since then, but that seems to be the peak of wrestling. A lot of people would say when it comes to superhero stuff that that's the same case for Avengers Endgame, that there's no fucking possible way they could top that story-wise, financially, no matter, not even if Vince Vaughn's in the next one. So do you feel that Marvel movies have peaked and it's now just going to be sort of trying to maintain?
I mean, it's hard to say, you know. I mean, I get only time will tell, but you know, the good thing about comics and the comic universe is the stories are unlimited. You know, wrestling, no matter what, there's only so many amount of times you can tell the same story over and over and over, and that's what burns people out. You know, the comic universe doesn't have those limitations, so I think there's still a ton of stories out there, and as long as you tell good stories, as long as you stay true to the characters and true to the tone of those characters, I think fans are going to be around. You know, the only thing that will hurt them is if they put out bad comic movies. That's what people get tired of. People get tired of bad shit, you know, so you can't have. I was just watching like the newest Hellboy last night because I had skipped it. It's fucking atrocious. Like, and I haven't finished it, and I was like, because I'm one of those people, like, when I start a movie, I want to finish it. I don't want to give up on it, and it's just fucking unbearable. Like, I can't get through it, and I tapped out. I couldn't finish it. You can't make movies like that.
Yeah, I remember when I went to see the new Hellboy, I went with the lady friend, if you know what I mean. Ooh. And right before that, I ate this spicy pasta stuff, which I really, really shouldn't, and that's as far as I'm going to say. But little did I know that my favorite part of going to see Hellboy 3 was the fact that I had to get up at one point and run to the bathroom and stay there for at least 25 minutes of sheer hell. Boy. Yeah. But my whole thing with Marvel is that the big rumor that I've heard, and by heard I mean I read in a tweet somewhere, that Christian Bale's coming in to play Galactus in the next Thor thing. So my problem is, are they just going to keep doing the same shit where here's the new villain for the next 10 years and then they bring in another villain for the next 10? I think that they may have hit their milieu or whatever that means.
Well, I don't know. I hope they bring in new villains, you know. I mean, because if you look at Batman, all they do is bring back the Joker. You know, it's like the DC universe. They only use the fucking Joker all the time. You know, we've got 18 versions of the Joker. You know, and I know they're good, but there's just other characters out there. So I want them to use more villains. You know, I mean, you can't bring back Thanos. I think they peaked with Thanos, or at least for a while. You know, I mean, with the Infinity Gems and stones and stuff like that, there's ways to bring him back. And he's been killed and brought back in the comics, you know, 30 times. But like for now, you know, they did everything they could do with Thanos, so we don't need to bring him back right now. So you gotta bring in some new villains, and if they're going to go against Thor, they gotta be heavy hitters. You know, you can't bring in, you know, a bank robber against Thor. You know, it's going to have to be somebody that can, you know, in Galactus can eat planets, or it's got to be somebody like that, or a Doctor Doom, or a legit heavy hitter.
Well, my whole thing is with Thor, I think he's kind of peaked as well. Like, Thor 3 with Ragnarok, which I liked it. It was too much comedy. It was like, that's why I don't like AEW. It's like, yes, we get it. You like to have fun, but just fucking give us some hard shit. And I think that with Thor, or even Marvel, it may be time to cross over villains. Like, why not have Magneto against Thor just because you can?
Well, yeah, I mean, that just depends if they got all of those characters. I believe they got the Marvel has the rights to all the X-Men characters now. Like, Fox had the X-Men. That's why they weren't made. The X-Men movies weren't made by Marvel. So, yeah, and I totally agree with Ragnarok. You know, I thought Ragnarok was one of the worst Marvel movies. Like, it was funny, but that's not Thor. Thor is not a funny character. They kind of made Thor like how Hercules is in the books. Hercules is the guy that's drinking all the time and funny and somewhat of a clown. That's how they made Thor out to be in Ragnarok. And it's just like they tried to make every Marvel movie be Guardians of the Galaxy, because I think Guardians of the Galaxy caught everybody off guard, you know, because it was such an unknown and untested property. And when it came in and it was just so funny, the dynamic there of how they did, you know, the comic relief in that movie, I think they tried to just put too much in some of the movies that came after, and Thor was definitely one. Ragnarok, I should say. But I don't know. You know, I think Thor is kind of hard to write because he's one of those characters like the Hulk that's so powerful. Like, how do you get him down? That's why the best Hulk movie was actually the Avengers, because they get the heat on everybody else and then hot tag to the Hulk, because it's hard to get heat on the Hulk because he's so powerful. Even if somebody like the Abomination is kicking his ass, you never really feel sad for the Hulk because he's the strongest one there is. You know he's going to come back. You know, it's not, you don't never feel sympathy. But like in the Avengers, they start kicking everybody else's ass. And I'm talking about the first Avengers movie. And that's when Hulk comes in and starts, you know, waylaying everybody. That was actually the best Hulk. So you kind of have to do that with Thor. It's hard to get him down, you know, but if you got Galactus there who can eat fucking planets, that's somebody who can, like, you know, legit put the stomp on Thor. So it just depends. Same thing with Superman. Superman's a hard character to write, you know, because you never feel sympathy. I got a fucking fly in here. You never feel sympathy. So like in the last Justice League, there was a lot of problems with that movie and a lot of people hated it. I love the fact that, you know, the villain, who was it? Steppenwolf. He's like kicking everybody's ass, hot tagged to Superman. Superman flew in and he didn't even do any dips in the comeback. He just straight ran through the finish and beat Steppenwolf's ass. And that was like some of the best Superman moments ever were actually in Justice League.
Can I be really obnoxious and tell you where I think Avengers Endgame went wrong?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, like, it only made $2.7 billion, which
it could have made 2.8 if they would have talked to you.
Yeah, which is ironically how much Blue Chew pays me to get the Hughezy rub. But I thought the big mistake they missed out on was by doing Red Hulk. And they could have had Thanos controlling Hulk and he goes fucking apeshit, but then everybody has to fight him at once. Hulk realizes what's wrong and then he clicks the fucking glove, not stupid fucking Iron Man.
I don't know if I buy that. I think I like their version a little bit better. You got to be honest.
We'll edit that disagreement out. But I've got to ask you, of course, pretty much last week, not even last week, a couple of days ago, very sad news that Chadwick Boseman passed away at the ridiculously young age. It's just terrible. Which obviously, I was going to say, obviously that means he's not in Black Panther 2. That's a redundant statement. But there seems to be a big campaign online by fans saying, oh, you can't recast it and you can't put somebody else in that role. But for my opinion, I say, why? I mean, like, it's very sad that he's gone, but they still could continue that story. What I'd love to know from your point of view is, if it was up to you, Disco Inferno's friend, how would you continue what would you do for Black Panther 2?
Yeah, I think you recast. I don't think you kill off T'Challa, you know, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but I don't feel like Boseman would want that. It wasn't, you know, he didn't create T'Challa. That wasn't his creation, and you don't take away something that somebody else created. You know, you didn't kill off the Joker because Heath Ledger passed. You know, and if you would have done that, we never would have got the Phoenix version. Who did the last one?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix.
The funniest guy in the world.
Yeah, we wouldn't have got that. And so yeah, I think just it's such a raw loss right now. You know, people want to honor Chadwick so much because of how well he played that role. But I mean, if you take away that T'Challa, you're going to like take away the opportunity from somebody else to pick up that mantle, and maybe they can do something super spectacular with it. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough call, but I think you keep T'Challa going. You find another actor that can do it, and hopefully they can do it as well. But, you know, it's going to be some big shoes to fill because Boseman absolutely, you know, played that role perfectly. So,
would you like to hear my obnoxious ideas on how to fix or how to keep Black Panther 2 going?
Other than just cast somebody else, is there something else?
Yeah, well, there's two. I don't know if you watched the show Lovecraft Country.
I know of it. I haven't seen it yet, though.
That guy could be a good replacement. John Isaiah Washington, or whatever his name is, could be a good Black Panther. But if they really want to protect the role, they could still have the Black Panther, but it's passed on to his sister, Shuri, you know, Letitia Wright. So you could have a lady, and apparently in real life she's LGBTQ. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but so you could do that. Or if you really want to get tactical, in that last film, what's the fucking guy? Killmonger.
Yeah.
If there was some sort of sci-fi way that he didn't actually die, and they brought him back and I've learned the error of my ways, and he could be the new Black Panther, hopefully just not make me look so bad with a shirt off.
I definitely don't know about that. The character of Killmonger was still a murderer. You know, I think people got lost. Like, that message sometimes got lost in that movie because there were people that felt like Killmonger had a point, and there were parts of his character that were correct, but that doesn't negate the fact that he was this massive murderer. Like, that's what all of those little things were. All of his body were kills. Like, he was just a mass murderer. So I don't know if he's the guy I would want to be the hero of the story. Now, it's hard to take a serial killer and make him the good guy. You don't give him Captain America's shield. I just think, you know, find it. Like I said, find another actor that can do it. And yes, that's going to be hard, but that's what you got to do. Yeah, having his sister be the Black Panther. Yes, stuff like that has happened in the movies. Like, if somebody else becomes the Black Panther, that's one thing. The Black Panther is different, but somebody else being T'Challa is also different. You know, I don't think you kill off T'Challa. You know, somebody else can be him, but different people have been the Black Panther.
And if I could pick the villain for Black Panther 2, because it's all about me, I would go with Doctor Doom, but do the comics version, so you could have, where's he from again? Moldavia or something?
Latveria.
Yeah, same thing, just next door. Latveria versus Wakanda.
Uh-huh.
And and they could do like a Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers type mega war, and you're all welcome to me.
Okay, not bad. You know, Doom and Panther have clashed quite a bit in the comics, so that could work out.
So I
don't think it'll be a close trip though. I think Latveria is more of a European country, and not necessarily super close to Africa. But you never know.
Well, these days, you know, they could probably cut a deal. Yeah.
Cut a deal.
But another one that I'd love to ask you about is I think it was 2 weeks ago, they did that DC fandom thing.
Yeah.
And they showed the trailer for the new Batman. Now, I'm not just saying this because I fucking despise the Twilight films, and I watch them all because that's the way it is. I think that looked crap. And
really?
To me, like, I'm a James Bond mark all fucking day. I'll sing some Shirley Bassey songs for you later on, just to wrap up. But even at that, I find it hard to be like, oh my God, it's James Bond, I can't wait, because we've had so many. This is the 10th Batman film, and we've got twinkly fucking hair dye Twilight boy as the thinnest Batman that there's ever been. Like, he could be a great Robin, not fucking Batman. And
he's too tall to be Robin.
Yeah, well, not in my book, baby. But I just think that he fucking is not a good Batman. I don't think they got the right director. Like, who does a film called War of the Planet of the Apes and says, in this scene we should have lots of talking, and then they talk in the next scene, and then they don't fight and they talk out their issues. It's fucking stupid. And plus, another film about Batman beginning, that's a great idea. They should do that in 2005.
Right. I guess we're going to have to see, because the thing about Batman is, I don't know how old you are, but I'm of the age with Michael Keaton. And when we all heard Michael Keaton was going to be Batman, everybody was like, what? And then he absolutely killed it. And Val Kilmer, people weren't quite that sure about Val Kilmer, and he was good. And people thought George Clooney was going to be great, and he was actually rotten. So you're going to have, I didn't hate the trailer. I will say that. I didn't hate it at all. But you're just going to have to wait and see. I thought Ben Affleck was great. He's a great Batman. A little older, they kind of just went, all of a sudden Batman was just like 45, 50 years old really quick. You didn't really get a history of Affleck, like not too much, it seemed anyway, from Batman versus Superman to Justice League. That dude aged like 20 years, it seemed. Must have had a rough life. But I guess, we're just going to have to see,
Well, speaking of just having to see, one of the things we're going to have to see is a guy who you helped give the rub to back in the day, The Rock. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
He was in the tag team with that guy, McFoley. Do you remember?
Yes.
Remember you beat him up for real in the shoot?
Yep. Sure did.
So you do remember him, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember him too. But anyway, he's starring a film coming up soon called Black Adam. Now, to be honest, I don't know anything about that fucking character, because I never was into Shazam and all that sort of stuff. But I think, to me, that with The Rock's enormous fandom, thanks to that match with the Hurricane, I don't think they're going to allow him to play Black Adam as a villain. And I think they're really going to crowbar in some silly shit where he's actually a swell guy all along. So what's your hopes and expectations for The Rock as Black Adam?
Well, this is actually very interesting to me, because the Black Adam is my favorite character of all time. Strangely enough, everybody associates me with the Green Lantern. I would have gotten the Black Adam tattoo, but it's a yellow lightning bolt, and a yellow lightning bolt on my white ass skin wouldn't have showed up too well. That's why I went with the Green Lantern. I had three choices when I was going to get my tattoo. I wanted to get the Superman symbol from Kingdom Come, which was the black emblem with the stylized S. I wanted to try to get a Black Adam tattoo, but it would have to be a super black outline. But the tattoo artist was like, that yellow is just not going to pop at all. And so that's why I went with the Green Lantern, for those of you that don't know. But the Black Adam wasn't always just a villain. He kind of crossed over a little bit. He was a villain that had kind of, he had his own set of morals, more of a Punisher type character. Some people don't consider the Punisher to be a hero because he kills the villain. Well, Black Adam was kind of in that case. And I always had a soft spot for him as a kid, because he was one of those characters that was really powerful, and it never made sense why he lost. Like, he would be fighting, Shazam's name in the books was Captain Marvel back in the day. And he would be fighting them and the Marvel family and be kicking their ass. And it was always stupid how he would lose. And I associated with, there was a point in my life, and I think this happens to a lot of wrestling fans. You're a babyface fan in the beginning, and then there's some point where you kind of start liking the heels. That was when Hogan beat Savage at WrestleMania 5, like, that infuriated me. Like, I was such a Savage fan, even though he was the heel. And I just got mad at the babyface. So I liked Black Adam so much that for years, I just hated Shazam. I hated that character forever. I would not even read books he was in because I liked Black Adam so much. I even wore a Black Adam shirt on Monday Night Raw in like 2002 or 2003. Snuck it on TV somehow. But yeah, I think, and it's just funny that he's going to be played by The Rock, my nemesis. But I think it's going to be really good. DJ's really adamant about making it not just another DC movie. They're gonna put everything into this. So I got very high hopes for it. Very high.
Did you ever get any feeling, a vibe from back in the day that The Rock was a comic books fan?
No, not really. I mean, I'm sure he knew they existed and stuff like that. A lot of people, I'm sure even people who aren't comic fans at some point have picked up a comic and read one. I mean, we never spoke about comics or anything like that. No, so I don't know.
Did you talk about Baywatch?
Never.
See, I love The Rock, but I'll if I ever meet him, I'm gonna have to say to him, "You piece of shit."
Because of Baywatch?
Oh my God, have you seen it?
No, I missed that one.
Right, I'm not telling you what to do because you could beat me in a fight, maybe. But you are not allowed to watch Baywatch.
Okay.
No,
how is it compared to Hellboy?
Well, here's the thing. At least Hellboy has action and stuff.
Okay. Baywatch,
you can't even whip out your Pink Panther's tail and jerk that fucking snake until the yolk comes out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like this is the way I would describe Baywatch. It's a politically correct adult comedy about swimsuits. So you can't talk about the ladies and their tits and their asses and stuff like that. So it's just constant jokes about how people are like, wow, The Rock's really in shape. It's shit.
Okay.
And I wish I got the runs during that one. Not that I did it, Hellboy. That's a lie. But then again, with The Rock, who the fuck ever thought that Jumanji 2 would be so good?
Yeah. I mean, he's done some good stuff. Yeah, I've seen most of everything he's done. So, but yeah, I just didn't have interest in Baywatch.
Yeah, keep it that way, or else I'll have you kicked off the Creative Control Network.
Okay.
But another DC thing that that's annoying me that people keep talking about is the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Right now, for those who don't know, it's a very tragic thing. During the production of Justice League 1, his director Zack Snyder's daughter passed away, and obviously he wasn't going to come back to work during that because he's more important things to deal with. So it was taken over by that scumbag Joss Whedon, and a big pile of shit came out in the cinema, ironically the same one that I seen Hellboy in, and it was fucking horrible. It almost killed the DC franchise again. But now in 2021, which is next year, if you didn't know, they're doing a 4-hour-long version of the original take of the fucking Justice League. Now, everyone's all so excited about it, like, oh God, this is going to be great. This is going to be perfect. It's like, is it? Because he did fucking Man of Steel, which was shit. He did fucking Batman v Superman, which I've seen more interesting deleted scenes in that whole film. Mm-hmm. And now everyone's pretending to be interested in this 4-hour-long version. What is your take on the Snyder Cut?
I don't think I think earlier when I was talking about understanding the tone of the character, I don't think he understands the tone of Superman at all. Superman's the good guy. Even in Man of Steel, I never got that feeling like that this is the most iconic superhero of all time. I never really got that. There was visual moments, of course, and I think that's where he does good. He does create these visual, moments and scenes in a movie that kind of, when you're watching a trailer, you're like, oh my God. But now when you're going to sit down for 2 hours, you got to flesh it out a little bit. And that's why I think Snyder's weaknesses comes in, fleshing out the characters and that sort of thing. And like Batman versus Superman, they put 3 different stories all into one movie, 3 powerful stories. Because what made Batman versus Superman work in the books is that they had known each other for years. And then when they met in The Dark Knight, a graphic novel, they finally fought. It wasn't like they met and started fighting on day one, and so you kind of miss that in that movie, that these guys are just going to meet and hate each other right off the bat. Then you got the introduction of Wonder Woman, which I don't mind introducing Wonder Woman in a smaller role. But then when you're going to bring her to fight Doomsday, it's like, okay, well, now we got Wonder Woman. Well, Wonder Woman is an event in and of itself. So you got that. And then Doomsday. Doomsday is a whole movie. You don't have Doomsday just as the third act of a fucking movie. Doomsday is a movie. So it was just they just swung for the fences, which, you know, I can applaud them for that, but, you know, we lost who Batman was. We lost who Superman was. We fucking lost who Doomsday was. You got this Lex Luthor character who thinks he acts more like the Joker than he does Lex Luthor. So they kind of really changed him. There was just so much that was just thrown at you at once. It was just tough to deal with. And kind of the same thing with the Justice League. You know, you never really sympathized or felt for any of those characters. You know, you brought in this new version of the Flash. You know, just a little quirky little kid who didn't act like any Flash we'd ever seen. So that was kind of odd. You got this new version of Aquaman. So it's just like you're going to change all of the characters that were successful for all of these years. You want to change every single one of them. Well, there's a reason they're successful. So maybe play off that a little bit. You can update and modernize them a little bit, you know, like they modernized Aquaman. It's like, okay, you know, but if you're going to just change every damn body, then just call it something else. Don't call it Justice League. You know, make up your own damn team name. So I'm hoping that with the extra time allotted and, you know, they're not going to have to deal with, I know they lost Henry Cavill, whatever his name is. And then he had to do the fake mustache scene. Like, even when you're watching Justice League, you're seeing this Bush League CGI effect of this guy's lip. And it was just fucking distracting that I'm watching Superman and he's got this fake lip thing going on. It bothered the hell out of me. It just looks so Bush League, you know. And then keep in mind, while this is happening, Marvel is putting out hit after hit after hit. So comic fans, they're comparing the two. And you kind of shouldn't do that. They're the own thing. It's like when you compare, you know, a Ring of Honor or Impact to WWE, you're comparing them to this monster, right? You kind of got to be careful about doing that because it's going to be hard to compare them to the monster every single time. But I hope that the Snyder Cut is going to be good. Is that going to be in a movie or is it going to be an HBO thing? I thought it was going to be an HBO Max thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a 4-part miniseries.
Oh, okay, four. I got you.
But the thing about Snyder that I don't get is I think he's made some of the worst films ever made. Like,
such as?
He did a thing called Sucker Punch, which I'm not even being a snowflake. I think it should be banned. Because it's like 2.5 hours long of, in every scene, a woman is either raped, beaten, groped against her will. Then it cuts to an action scene that basically I've seen less butt shots in a colonoscopy camera.
Yeah.
And it keeps happening in every scene. And it's like, who the fuck? It's like some nerd going, I like the Beatles. Let's get a dance music version of the Beatles and we'll put it in the movie. And that's what that Sucker Punch was shit. I didn't like Watchmen. I thought 300 was shit. The only thing he's done that I liked was The Dawn of the Dead.
I love 300, and I like The Watchmen. The Watchmen was just different. I'm the biggest Watchmen fan in the world, and I saw what they did. That, you know, he tried to make an action movie out of The Watchmen, and the books aren't necessarily an action book. But if you kind of would have, you know, if you would have told that story from the book in that 2.5 hour time frame, I think that was going to be difficult anyway. You know, he tried to spice it up, and I see what he was going for. So I didn't actually hate it as much as some people did. But I like 300, but I've never seen Sucker Punch. I guess I'll put that on my list of things not to watch.
Yeah, you do what or unless you make a whole night of it and watch Sucker Punch, Hellboy, and Baywatch.
Okay.
And I'd rather watch the video from The Ring. But another thing I've got to ask, I'm a total Marvel nut job. I fucking love their films. But I have to say, do you think that they're maybe going to screw things up by going a little too woke? And by that, I mean, there was a scene in Avengers Endgame where, for no reason at all, no logical reason, all of the female characters just so happened to turn up at the same place at the same time in this battle scene and beat the shit out of Thanos. And I thought, right, I get that this is fake fantasy stuff. But come on. And they clearly only did that to get a pat on the back, and it didn't actually seem to work. So do you think that for example, put it like this, they have a film coming out called The Eternals next year, 2022. The only thing they've announced about it so far is that, we have a character who's gay, and we have a character who has special needs. And it's like, okay, but it's an action film being made to sell toys. That's what it is at the end of the day. So do you think that Marvel may affect their overall success by trying too hard to pander?
I mean, I don't know. I think, you still got there's still a lot of steps that need to be taken in terms of the inclusion and representation, no matter what. It's never anything I've had to deal with personally. So I think sometimes, not being able to see that can be construed as turning a blind eye to that. And you don't want to do either one. I know the scene you're talking about in Endgame, and maybe it could be seen as a little pandering, but at the same time, I thought it was pretty cool, because you didn't used to get that, when you superhero comics traditionally were a bunch of guys, so now if it's done well, like how Wonder Woman was done. Wonder Woman, I think, was a good example of how, writing a strong female character is done well, whereas Marvel's Captain Marvel, I thought wasn't done that well. I didn't like that movie at all. Actually, it's probably one of my least favorite Marvel movies ever. But I think there's, trying to include people and representation and stuff like that. That is important. As long as it doesn't become the story, I don't think I watch Marvel movies for that. I don't really care who's sleeping with who when we're going to fight Thanos, that sort of thing. So
sex.
It just depends, but I do applaud that the representation and the inclusion that is necessary. You want little kids to go, hey, I recognize that character. That could be me,
But it's funny that
it was important for that's why the Black Panther was so important. Before the Black Panther, I guess we had Blade, but Blade wasn't what we call a superhero. Blade was a vampire killer. He's out there murdering, chopping heads, something like that. And you don't take your little kid to see Blade. As far as my recollection, I just remember seeing a lot of murder, and I don't want my little boy watching that. So I think when if you got a young African American child and they see the Black Panther and they see this world, and like, oh, that could be me. Whereas it was always Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, all the other white ones. That was what made that movie very important. So I want all little kids to watch a comic movie and go, that could be me. There's a character in there that I could be.
Well, I just hope nobody watches Halle Berry's Catwoman and thinks that could be them, because then they should be killed.
Hey, listen, Halle Berry wins. She can do anything. Halle Berry can do no wrong to me, so.
Oh, she could do a lot of wrong to me, if you know what I mean. Sex. But I got to ask you just one final comic book movie character question. Last October, The Joker came out, and it was sort of the first type of a new superhero film where it's about basically, the villain. And it was a massive hit. It cost like less than $60 million. It made over $1 billion, which is what I get from Manscaped. But with The Joker, I have to say, I thought it was good, but I thought it was wildly overrated. For example, did you see that scene where the Joker was kind of going nuts?
Yeah, just that one?
Yeah, and then there was that other scene where he started going nuts, and it's like, yeah, I fucking get it. That's 2 hours long.
I don't know. I liked it. I had to take an L on this one because when it was announced they were doing another Joker movie, I was just like, oh my God, another fucking Joker? Enough with the Joker. DC has so many fantastic villains. We got to do the Joker again. That was my initial thoughts. But, watching that movie, I thought it was fabulous and so well done. But I don't know. I didn't feel it was overrated. I really liked it. I watched it 2 or 3 times. And if I'm watching a movie multiple times, to me, that says something. With the volume of movies that are out there now, it's hard to keep up with everything. So if I'm gonna watch something multiple times, like I did with the Watchmen series on HBO, or like I did with The Boys on Amazon Prime, if you haven't seen that, that's just fucking bonkers. Like, have you seen The Boys?
I don't have any streaming services at the minute.
Oh man, whatever you do, Amazon Prime, The Boys, that shit is insane. And I thought it was going to be hard to hold up to the books because the books came out 15 years ago, maybe. Been out for a while. Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, I believe, are the writers, creators, artists. And I just knew how insane those books were. And I'm like, man, how far is this show going to go? And just, man, absolutely brilliant.
But my whole thing about the Joker, what I didn't like is because I'm a big Martin Scorsese fan.
Right. I like Martin Scorsese.
Oh my God. Problematic. But
dude, what was that last fucking movie he made, The Irishman, that was 19 hours long?
18 and a half.
And it was the exact same fucking movie he makes every time with the exact same people playing the exact same roles, yet somehow he's this fantastic. See, and then I'm actually just more heated because they tried to talk shit about the Marvel movies. But I got more emotion out of watching Endgame than I've ever gotten out of any fucking Martin Scorsese movie. Ever.
Well, get ready to have your world rock with this amazing opinion of mine. But I thought that with the Joker, it was like some coverage band playing like, oh, we're going to play the hits of the 70s to an audience of kids. And the kids don't know who the fuck Zeppelin are, the Bee Gees. Right. And they go, oh, who wrote this? You go, me. I wrote Staying Alive, and I wrote fucking Stairway to Heaven or whatever the fuck. To me, the Joker was literally Taxi Driver mixed with the King of Comedy with a lot of close-ups.
Okay.
And I just thought, I've seen it all. I've seen it. And plus, if they should have had the Joker kill Bruce Wayne as a boy, or he should have stabbed him or done something to hurt him. Or he should have ran off. He should have ran away from Wayne Manor going, your mom's a fucking cunt.
I just liked it because there's never been that deep of a dive into a villain whatsoever. You know, the closest thing we got to that, or at least one example of that, is like in one of the X-Men movies when you see Magneto's past, that he was in a German concentration camp. And that sort of thing. And you see, okay, well, I understand why Magneto is the way he is, you know, because of that past. You know, some villains, when they throw him out there and it's the bad guy for the sake of being the bad guy, you know, you just kind of accept it because you need a bad guy in the movie. So we've never really had a deep dive into a villain's mind like we did with the Joker. So I don't know. I really dug it.
Well, it turns out
and also fuck Martin Scorsese, by the way.
Well, it turns out that the biggest villain of the X-Men series was Jennifer Lawrence.
Why is that?
That stupid bitch. First of all, do you want to know why she's gone into hiding?
No.
She was one of Harvey Weinstein's girls.
Oh, really? I don't know anything about that.
Well, just to clarify, Shane Helms 100% knows all about that stuff. But yeah,
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about with that.
So he just confirmed it, clarified. But with the X-Men, who had the great idea of saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do X-Men versus Apocalypse. And we're not going to have Wolverine in it. And the leader of the X-Men is going to be Mystique, who's in human form most of her time.
Yeah, those last couple of X-Men were pretty rough.
But just one final Joker question. What's your take on the fact that that's the creative team that are going to be doing the Hulk Hogan biopic?
The team that did the Joker?
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah, Todd Phillips and that, whoever the fuck wrote it. And ironically, Eric Bischoff. They're making the Hulk Hogan film for Netflix with old Thor.
Well, I mean, at least you know you got a talented team behind it, so I don't know how dark and complex Hulk's backstory is, you know, so I don't really know what all we're going to get out of that. Hulk's always been nice to me. That's all I know about him. So I don't know any of the real trials and tribulations that he's went through in his life. So But if you got a team that can tell a story like they did with the Joker, if they could get something even remotely close like that, it could be interesting. I think a lot of people will watch it.
Yeah, plus it'll be nice to see Chris Hemsworth take his shirt off for a change.
Yeah.
But just as we're beginning to come to the end of this 4-hour interview, I thought I'd ask you 3 wrestling questions so that I could put them up on YouTube, clickbait them, get a little bit of ad revenue add to my billions and billions.
Right.
Do you mind 3 wrestling questions?
Not at all.
Okay, well, one of the things I love doing with Keeping It 100 is when I make the clips for their YouTube channel, I love pissing off the AEW fans because they always take the bait, and it always means thousands and thousands of views, even if I don't, because I've never seen AEW in my life. I don't really watch it, but I love fucking with people. I think it's hilarious. It makes me feel like a big man. One of the things that genuinely does annoy me, though, is I don't like the way Cody Rhodes books himself. He's everywhere. He's doing too much. Everybody seems to debut in an angle with him. Then he'll go and do a real interview on like the Highway to Helms podcast. I wouldn't have my mind. I'm big time. And he'll trash Triple H and talk about, he used to use his booking power to do this, do all that shit. To me, he's doing exactly the thing that he's criticizing Triple H for doing. So what's your take, Shane Helms, on the Cody Rhodes booking himself to kick everyone's head in?
Well, I know he just got murdered by Brody Lee, so he definitely, I wonder who booked that. And I don't know who exactly his booking was, so I can't say for certain. I mean, I know he's got an opinion of the show, but it's still Tony Khan's company. So I can't say for certain who's booking what. So, but he did just get murdered by Brody Lee. And even if he has had a good run with that TNT Championship, which I think he has, he was able to highlight a lot of good people and put the spotlight on people that didn't have the spotlight on them. And the Eddie Kingston match that he had was one of the best pro wrestling matches of the year. And with a guy that was completely unknown, not completely unknown, but unknown and untested in terms of national television. Eddie Kingston was an independent guy who had been good for a long time. He had a small run in Impact, and I was a huge supporter of him in Impact. And Cody goes out there with him, and they just fucking tore it down and got the guy a contract. So I think when you're in that position that he's in, that the Young Bucks are in, that Kenny Omega is in, there's always going to be people that have your opinion, no matter what. No matter how they book themselves, if they book themselves to win, to lose, there's always going to that's why I wish they would have kept that a secret. It doesn't really serve a purpose that fans know that they're chief executive officers or that they're behind the scene guys. Same thing in Ring of Honor with them letting people know that Marty Scurll's the booker. Like, I don't know why you would tell people that. I know that there are certain people that make these Marvel movies. I don't give a shit who's making them, who's writing them. I don't care what the fuck. I want to go and watch a good movie. I want to watch a good wrestling show. I don't really give a shit who's calling the shots as long as it's good.
But what would be your take, though, because the AEW's success rate hasn't been massive. Like, it's not like they're fucking shutting down, but like they have half the audience that they do from when they began. Like, and obviously nobody's going to maintain the debut rating. All TV shows start off huge and then dip off. But for me, it was like Cody makes himself a top guy. Ratings go down. He's staying the top guy. Ratings are going down, and nobody's being. Well, this is from a Mark perspective, that nobody's being like elevated to the level of like, holy shit, it's fucking Cody Rhodes versus Warehouse or whatever that guy's name was. So when I don't
think you can put it on one guy. There's several guys that you can say are the top guys. You can't say it's just Cody.
So the code we can go for there is Shane Helms blames the failure of AEW on Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega.
No, I'm just saying it's the whole company. It's a company package. I don't think a lot of people watch any wrestling show for just one person. I would never go to a wrestling show for just one person. I go because I'm gonna get several, probably 7 to 8 matches and get 2 hours of entertainment. You don't go for one person. And it's a weird time right now with the whole ratings and the COVID shit. Nobody even knows what ratings mean anymore. It's just that's the most boring conversation to me in the entire business industry to have.
Yeah, because people say about WWE ratings, it's like, well, okay, but then you look at that YouTube clip of Roman Reigns talking to Paul Heyman, and it's got something, 4 million views since Friday, and it's like, that's success.
Yeah, and then they're making more money than ever in the history of the fucking business. So it's such a weird thing, and I don't need something to be popular to validate whether I like it. I don't have that mentality, When I was doing the indies in the early 90s, when they were brutal dog shit and hard to do, there was nobody there. Nobody really liked it in the early 90s. The wrestling business was in a hole in the early 90s. It was just rotten. And that didn't bother me. I didn't care that other people didn't like it. I liked it. That's what mattered to me, is that I liked it. Saying before comics became this big mainstream Hollywood phenomenon, superhero movies, I always liked them. And it didn't matter to me that other people didn't. So I really don't. That's why I have so little interest from a business standpoint. Yes, you got to pay attention to ratings and stuff like that, but it's not my wheelhouse. I'm an artist. I create out there, and I hope people like it. That's always the hope, of course, of any artist. But if you start worrying about just selling the most hamburgers, then you're going to get McDonald's. McDonald's sells more hamburgers than any other fucking restaurant place in the world. They are not even close to being the best hamburger. It's not even in the conversation. Nobody goes, you know what? McDonald's has the very best hamburger. Nobody fucking says that. But they sell the most. So, like you mentioned Twilight. Twilight made way more money than Pulp Fiction. There will never come a day in my life that I think Twilight's a better movie than Pulp Fiction.
Although Twilight New Moon is the #1 film of all time.
Fucking Twilight, horrible. All the Twilight movies were absolute rubbish. You like I used the word rubbish?
Loved it. I usually just say cunt flaps. But speaking of which, you mentioned burger. You know where you can get the best burger?
Real Good Foods.
From my mama.
From your mama? Okay.
Oh, yeah. But just a second.
Next time I visit her, I'll make sure she makes me one.
Next. What's this? What's he saying? But second wrestling question I've got to ask you about is, at the minute, at the time of recording this, the rumor online that's got everyone talking is that Brock Lesnar is no longer under contract to WWE and is now allegedly, which means he probably isn't, talking about going to AEW or back to the UFC, or it might just be a negotiation tactic with WWE. So the question that I would ask you, which I may have already answered myself, what do you think about these rumors that Brock would go to AEW?
I think anybody that's got a checkbook, Brock will work for you. He's shown that in the past. So it could very well happen. I've also heard rumors that Bellator wants him to fight Fedor. I saw something where Dana White said that if he's interested in fighting John Jones, that's something that he would be interested in. So you never know. There are people that open their checkbook for Brock Lesnar, and he's one of those guys. Yeah. But it could also very well, like you say, just be a negotiating tactic. That's happened before. He did that before with WWE, so this could be one of those things too.
I wonder how, it'd be great if Mark Miro called him up and says, I'll give you $1 million to spend the night with your wife.
Mark Miro tells a great story that he was finding that when he found out he was married to Sable and found out that she was the relationship was already pretty much done. They just hadn't put the nail in the coffin yet, but he found out she was sleeping with somebody. And then when he found out it was Brock Lesnar, he was like, all right then.
Like, I'll just hire a hooker or something, Go ahead.
You got to hear him tell the story. He tells it a lot better than I just did, and it's really his story to tell. So,
yeah, but I think that whatever Brock does next, like he's a special. Like, he's one of the last true draws. And
maybe it's hard to say that because he never did live events, and he never like, where was the proof of that?
True. Well,
if you don't actually show up to shows and you don't wrestle that much, it's hard to really call you a draw. If like they would just bring him in as a surprise. If he's there as a surprise, nobody knows he's going to be there. Can't really be a draw. You look at the ratings, and they never really jumped out of the roof. So I think that's kind of his gimmick, that he's called a draw. But I didn't really see any proof of that.
So the clickbait quote I can go with is Shane Helms says Brock Lesnar failure. And just one final wrestling question that I'm going to bore you with before I let you get back to watching Hellboy, the extended director's cut with extra close-ups. The current big thing, the big mystery storyline WWE is Retribution. I'm not looking for any spoilers or whatever, but there's been some what I think is stupid backlash to it because they're like, oh, it's too much of reality and all that shit. Personally, that's why I love it, because you see the shit that's going on in the streets and the gangs and the rioters, and I don't like it. But then in WWE, they're finally doing something that's making you go, what's going on? And who is this? And who's in it? And can I get some merch? And all that stuff. I like the way it's going, and it seems like ratings have gone up or risen or whatever the fuck. So what's your take on the Retribution storyline and the online backlash to it?
Well, anytime you do a storyline like that, there's going to be backlash, and everything's online now. People use that word these days. Everything's online. Every fucking thing is online. So I wasn't impressed the first couple of weeks just because they were so tiny. They looked like tiny human beings. And I felt like if I'm supposed to be intimidated by these guys or girls, they were just people, you couldn't really tell. But if I was supposed to be intimidated, if I was supposed to be intimidated, if I was supposed to be afraid, I was neither of those things. It looked like I could beat the shit out of everybody there. So it just looked like a bunch of kids running around. And then when it happened at the Performance Center, I was like, where's the locker room? Why didn't the locker room come out and kick these guys' ass? Is everybody going home? Because it wasn't like they waited till the building was closed to do it. Like, where's everybody at? And I guess that's what we're waiting for, and if that's the goal, because I know a lot of people they don't like the rioting and stuff like that, where send the locker room out and beat them up and you'll get that big pop, I guess is what we're building to. But I'm just not sure where it's going right now. And I don't hate it whatsoever, but that's also is not what's making me watch the show.
Do you think it would be possible in a way to book not so much a whole episode of a continuous riot, where like just say the opening match is Shane Helms versus The Rock, Retribution runs in, and the locker room empties. There's a giant fight in the ring. You go to break, then we come back from break. They're fighting in the locker rooms and in the streets, and you could throughout the night, instead of having matches, a series of basically like a cinematic episode where each segment has like, here's Retribution injuring fucking I can't think of a Drew McIntyre, or Randy Orton's just been knocked out. Who did it? And you could set up all these potential twists, like maybe is Braun Strowman a heel now? Who left Roman Reigns lying out? But all this shit. Do you think they could get away with something like that?
If you do that on Raw, you're talking about 3 hours of one continuous fight. I don't know. I think I would get bored of that pretty quickly, around the 40-minute mark. I don't know if I want to watch a 3-hour fight, no matter what the fuck's going on.
What about if it was a ladder fight?
Definitely not 3 hours of guys slowly climbing a ladder. I don't know. You just got to tell stories like that in bits and pieces, and so that's what's going on right now. They're doing bits and pieces of it, but it's such a weird thing because we know these buildings have security, but somehow security can't stop these guys, and then the guys in the locker room, I know they came out in one of the matches recently. Was it SummerSlam or something? Wherever it was that It might have been SmackDown. With the one with Jeff Hardy won the Intercontinental title back from AJ. You know, the locker room came out and fought some guys, and then they used that distraction for AJ to kick Jeff Hardy's leg. You know, so at least there was something going on there. But you know, we're going to need to find out who the leader is of this team and what it is. It's just a little slower storytelling than I think the audience is used to.
Well, I just hope it's revealed that The Miz is the leader, because everybody knows he's the legit toughest guy in the wrestling business today.
No doubt. No doubt.
With just one final question before I let you go. Speaking of legit tough guys, it's been confirmed that next year, 2021, likely towards the end of the year, we're getting Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. The biggest possible heavyweight fight that there is. I can't fucking wait. I'm a massive boxer, Mark. So whenever I get a girl like you on, I always like to ask, what's your prediction for Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua?
Tyson Fury.
No.
Yeah, Tyson Fury's going to knock him out.
No, AJ. Is that what you meant to say, AJ?
I did not. I definitely meant to say Tyson Fury.
I agree. I think AJ takes him in the fourth.
What did you think about AJ coming to America and getting beat up?
Fake news.
Is what?
Fake news. Didn't happen.
Fake? Oh, it's fake. Okay. Yeah.
I think I think two problems had. He didn't take the guy seriously, and that guy Ruiz was cheating, like in the clinch, and he threw a punch which knocked him silly. It's like you cheating fat fuck. No wonder you fat cunt. But you know, I don't let it get to me.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah. So yeah, AJ wins.
I'm still going with Tyson Fury, man.
AJ it is. Listen, Shane, I just want to thank you so much for your time. I've liked you for about 3 weeks. My kid. I'm hilarious. I'm the real joker over here. But really, I've been a fan of you for decades. So I'm going to send screenshots of this to my boys. Let them get all pissed off and angry. There's no need to plug your podcast because we played the ad before it. But how about your Twitter for my fruity listeners?
At Shane Helms com. And that's because my website is shanehelms.com. But at shanehelms.com is where you can find me: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Tumblr, still anywhere. That's where I'm at.
There we go, and that's the only way to do it. I'm going to let you get on to watching Baywatch, and we'll hear the Baywatch watch-along commentary on the next Highway to Helms.
Sounds good. Adam Cole, Baywatch.